Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo. Today's not going to be a super long one. We're still in the search for a car. We're still searching for a car. Our Subaru needs a new transmission. It's not worth it to put a new transmission in there. Andrew Tate. What about Andrew Tate? I think that Andrew Tate is not the best role model in the world. But anyway, my mom's been single for years and I need a stepdad. What's up? That's weird. But yeah, so looking for that. So today's not going to be super long. We'll let some people in, probably be an hour or so, and then yeah, we got some stuff we want to cover. But yeah, we'll let some people in first. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going all right. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So I'm just kind of curious of why you believe that Joe Rogan is not a good role model for men.
Yeah, very easy. He promotes drug culture. He doesn't even. So first off, he encourages young men to do DMT, but we know now that he lied. And in a community I'm in, we know personally from his tattoo artist, from somebody else in the community who he knows personally, Joe Rogan's former tattoo artist, admitted to us that Joe Rogan is a fraud. He's a liar. He's never done DMT. And he encourages the youth to do DMT, and it's very damaging. So Joe Rogan is promoting sterility and drug addictions.
Is DMT an addictive substance?
It's a drug. I know that it's horrible for you. It doesn't matter if it's addictive or not. It's ruined people's lives.
I don't really hear about an epidemic of DMT trips, ruining people's lives.
Yeah, I hear... You hear him, man. You hear him. I know somebody, he 15 years old, went crazy from it. There's a couple other people that I know who know other people who went insane for 6 years off of one trip. So, yeah, it is very damaging. Nobody should be messing with it. So that's why Joe Rogan's bad. He's promoting drug culture. He's promoting sterility amongst young men. He thinks that he thinks marriage is stupid, but it doesn't make sense. And then he also jokes around that he would have intercourse with Jesus. So, yeah.
He's got to be joking when he says it. But
doesn't matter if he's joking. That's pretty revealing of your inner world. That's not a good joke. That's a horrible joke.
Everybody's got their own sense of humor, but it all really depends on the doses. If you take heavy doses of DMT, then yeah, of course you're going to get crazy.
No, nobody take it. It's horrible.
Dose.
Don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to this guy, what he's talking about. Everybody stay away from those drugs. They will destroy you.
Okay, where's your resources to prove this then?
I already told you. I know people that are involved in the community in which I'm involved in, which if you want to look into them, it's the Bears is essentially what we call ourselves, and we're all over the world pretty much. It's a pretty large community. We have our own app. It's called the Beartarian Times. And there's a lot of people. It is enough to say that yes, people their lives have been ruined from it. So stay away from them. It's not good. They're not good trips. Stay away from them.
Okay, but I can sit here and say that I know multiple people of my own who've had life experiences that actually changed the way that they view religion. Like they become more religious and spiritually inclined.
Yeah. So what I would say to that is, it's pretty simple. So can psychedelics serve some purpose? Of course. Yes, I'm not against psychedelics. What I'm against is this promotion of drug culture as if it's going to give you a sense of enlightenment. It's not. It's not. It's a tool of manipulation. It's not good for you. That's my whole point. Joe Rogan is a horrible guy to look up to. A horrible guy. He's a fraudster. He's a liar.
Okay, so the proof of Joe Rogan lying is practically hearsay at this point because you're saying that somebody within his circle said that he never did DMT.
Well, he's inconsistent in his worldviews as well. He's also a gatekeeper. I mean, Joe Rogan is all around not a good guy to listen to. He's flip-flopped. I mean, first off, how do you go from believing that the moon landing was inorganic to then saying that the moon landing was 100% real? Joe Rogan used to be this cool conspiracy theorist guy that was like setting the pace for truthers, and now he's a gatekeeper because he sold out. He sold his soul. He's a sellout, and he's a bad influence on men. What is he promoting that's good?
How is he a sellout? What makes him a sellout?
I mean, I haven't listened to much of his shows lately because I can't stand the guy, but he is a sellout because first off, he even said, NASA, I will lie to my mother if you tell me the secrets. And now he's not telling. Now he's saying that the moon landing is 100% real. He was on the front lines for that. He was on the front lines of that back in the day. He used to be a big conspiracy theorist. He used to be one of the leaders in the truther movement. And now what he's doing is essentially mitigating the amount of people that get truth. And he's also promoting drug culture, which drug culture is horrible. He promotes smoking weed, bad. No. So just for recreational use, any drug for recreational use is not good.
That's not true because if you use weed at a recreational level, but use it at a minimum level, and it doesn't impact your life to a negative degree, then
that's false. Yeah, that's false.
There's plenty of alcoholics who are functional. They're called functional alcoholics.
That doesn't mean it's good. That doesn't mean it's good. That doesn't mean they should do it. That doesn't mean we should promote people drinking because you can be functional. That's my point.
No, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not that if you can handle it. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying that you should not be promoting that.
Take drugs no matter what, even if it's recreational.
I'm saying recreational, and I'm saying the reason Joe Rogan's bad is because he promotes a culture of drug use, and he promotes a culture, most importantly, of sterility. I mean, he's for abortion. He doesn't think people should get married. It's insane to me. He's not a good role model for men.
Okay, but that's his opinion.
He's wrong, and he's a leader of men. He's a leader of men, and that's why it's wrong, because he's making weak men. Joe Rogan is making weak men.
The only leader for men, really, for every man, should be his father. That's it. But
I agree.
Role models, we can have people you listen to, but to sit here and say that Joe Rogan's the leader of men and speaks for all men, and anything he says,
that's not what I'm saying. You're conflating what I'm saying. You're not understanding me, man. A lot of people don't have fathers today, and even if they do have fathers, they're very absent, which is why people, young men, get attracted to men like Joe Rogan, attracted to men like Andrew Tate, because they appear masculine. They appear to be good role models on how you should be a man. That's why I'm saying Joe Rogan is not a good role model for men. I 100% agree with you that the father should be the only man another man looks up to. But unfortunately, in our society today, that is not the case. Most families grow up, even if the father's present, they grow up without a real father because the father has been cuckolded, he has been emasculated, he has been programmed by society as well. And then they look for people like Joe Rogan, who appears to be telling truth, but he's not. He's serving you a bunch of lies that will destroy your life. They do nothing to be fruitful. What advice has Joe Rogan given anybody to be fruitful in their lives?
Well, one thing that I always got from Joe Rogan when I used to listen to him was his open-mindedness. He always had a great ability to listen and grasp a lot of knowledge from people. And I think that's a really good thing.
How is that fruitful? So I'm asking, like, what has he told young men to do to be fruitful? To do shit, not just to sit there and think and explore ideas.
It's not his job to do that. It's not his obligation to do that.
So I don't think you understand like how these people function, right? So these people only are in their world because they influence. He is an influencer. The reason he's in the high status that he's in is because he's an influencer. So
every celebrity is an influencer.
Yes. So what is Joe Rogan influencing young men to do?
Okay, hold on. Here's the thing, because you're sitting here saying that, or at least you're implying that Joe Rogan holds an obligation to guide men into a better direction for themselves. But
no, I'm not. I'm saying that if you have a platform like Joe Rogan has, if you have a platform like Joe Rogan has, you know, right? You know that you're influencing people. Your words are influential if you're Joe Rogan. And so if you're saying, well, you know, I think everybody should try a DMT trip, and you got a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old listening to it, yeah, you can say it's the parents' fault because the parents should be watching their children, obviously. But it's a two-way street. We should not promote a culture. We should not promote a culture that leaves the influencer absent of fault because they are influencing, whether they realize it or not. And I would argue that Joe Rogan is a tool of the elite.
So you practically just proved my point that no, it is not Joe Rogan's obligation or fault if 14-year-olds listen to him and decide to go try DMT. You just said that's the fault on the parents. Joe Rogan's not responsible for what.
Did you not hear me? Two-way street, bro. Two-way street. Influencers shouldn't be allowed to peddle that nonsense. And yes, the parents should be more diligent in not allowing.
If you become an influencer, you can't hold an opinion.
No, you can. No, you can.
You can't hold an opinion.
Obviously, you can. That's not my point. You can hold an opinion if you want to. My point is there should be certain opinions that are totally that result in you being excommunicated from having the kind of power Joe Rogan has over over young men, because he does hold power, whether we like to admit it or not.
Hold a certain opinion that you don't like, you're pretty much saying we should disconnect them now.
No, that's not at all. I'm saying that people that promote sterility and drug culture should not be listened to, and they should not be promoted.
Okay, but what's wrong with weed culture? That's drug culture right there. What's wrong with that?
What does it do? What good does it do? Recreationally.
Makes people feel good. I think that's a really good thing.
A lot of things make people feel good. Heroin makes people feel good. That's why they do it. Getting drunk makes people feel good. Doing cocaine makes people feel good.
I'm sticking to weed.
I know, but your argument is that it makes you feel good.
Yes. Don't you think that's a benefit right there?
No, it's not, because eating junk food makes me feel good. If I want to drink 6 beers, it makes me feel good.
Weed does not harm you.
That's false. That's false. We know from studies that long-term users drop in IQ points. Fact. We also know that they have a lot of short-term memory loss. Fact. We also know that they are less productive on average than the non-smoker.
There's a difference between abusers and people who recreationally use it here and there, or in moderation. If you use it in moderation, you're going to turn out just fine. For the most part, you're going to turn out just fine.
you're gonna mess up your body in a lot of ways. It's not good to use. Well, first off, you should never smoke anything. Smoking to begin with is horrible for your body. Horrible. It does you no good. You're burning things. You're ingesting smoke. That is insane to begin with. All right.
Okay.
And then also you're altering your consciousness, which is not good in my opinion, because your consciousness is perfect the way it is. I mean, yes, you can evolve and shit like that, but doing drugs does not really help you evolve. It doesn't. It gives you false sense of enlightenment.
So why is it that we don't see a bit? So why is it that whenever somebody's diagnosed with cancer, they're usually prescribed medicinal marijuana to smoke? Why is that the case then?
Well, once again, my argument is against recreational and drug culture. Now you're bringing in medicinal. I'm not criticizing medicinal use of marijuana. Okay. I'm not saying that it has no use, but what I'm saying is the argument to say it makes you feel good because, I like to use it recreational because it makes me feel good is a silly one. There's a lot of bad things that make you feel good.
And harmless. Don't forget that part.
It's not harmless. I've already told you.
Makes you feel good. There's no problem.
False. That's so insane.
No,
you sound insane.
If you abuse it, it's not harmless, of course. But if you abuse anything, of course there's going to be harm. Some level or degree of harm to it. But I'm saying if you recreationally do it or in moderation, you're going to be fine for the most part.
Yeah, you could think that.
And you agree with me. That's why you're smirking.
No, I'm not. I already told you I don't agree with you. I don't. I factually don't. I'm smiling. Okay. I'm smiling because I think your point is insane.
What is wrong? What is wrong with smoking? You said that it's bad for the lungs. How is it bad for the lungs?
Are you like, do you not understand what smoke is? And do you know that your body's not meant to?
I want to see if you do. I want to see if you do. What is bad with smoking? Why is that bad for the lungs?
Because your lungs are supposed to breathe in air, not smoke. When you breathe in smoke, that's horrible. This is like a 2-year-old understands this.
Okay, what does smoke do to the lungs?
It damages them. It doesn't allow them to function as they should. It inhibits their ability to function.
It inhibits the ability to function. So you're saying somebody who smoked pot for 30 years, who doesn't have lung issues, I wonder why.
I guarantee you they do.
We don't see a lot of stoners.
I guarantee you they do.
A lot of stoners with lung issues.
They do.
Why is that?
Yeah, they definitely have lung issues. They're probably not as drastic as cigarette smokers. Those are two different things. I'm not saying that they're as bad.
Behind, that's what
no,
it is.
no, smoking in general. Dude, you're silly. You're silly if you you're really silly if you think.
What it is.
No, you're really silly if you think that smoking is okay for your lungs. It does you no harm.
I'm saying that smoking is not bad. It depends on what you smoke, and as long as you do it in moderation. If you do it excessively, then of course you're going to be destroying something. But again, if you use it in moderation, you're going to be fine the majority of the time.
No, I would say that it damages you slightly, minorly, regardless of how often you use it. It's not good for your body.
I'm not saying it's good for your body. I'm saying that it's not.
That's my whole point. That you understand. That's been my whole point this whole time. Is that you're promoting culture. You're promoting drug cultures that are no good for your body. What I'm saying is they're bad for your body. That's been my whole argument, and I've been explaining it in multiple ways. It's bad for your body. It's bad for your mind. It's bad for your soul.
If you abuse it, but if you use it in moderation,
even in moderation, it's damaging. Even if it's slightly, it's still damaging.
Even if it's slightly, does that really matter?
Yes, it does. Because if I drink one beer, my liver's still going to be affected by it. It's not good for my body to drink one beer.
You're going to have liver damage? Like, to what degree?
It's not. That's not my point. You're not understanding me, and that's okay. You can go ahead and, tote on your ganja if you wish. Go ahead. I'm not telling anybody not to do it. I've partaken in these things before. I'm not acting holier than thou. But the thing is, when you have a man like Joe Rogan who has so much influence over society, I get it. He has no obligation. You can say whatever you want. He has no obligation to society. Well, he does, kind of. He kind of does. When he has a big platform like he does and he's just spewing out these crazy things, he's very he wants to portray like he's balanced and strategic in what he says, but then why does he promote drug culture? And then laugh my ass off, you kind of are, though. Yeah, I think that people shouldn't do these things. If you're going to do these things, do these things. It's okay. I'm just saying that you shouldn't do them. It shouldn't be accepted in society. That's my point. As far as recreational use. Now, if you want to use it for medicinal purposes, that's different, because I think that every natural drug that's here on earth isn't bad. I don't think that the drugs themselves are bad that are natural. But what becomes bad is when you're using them recreationally, because that's a form of depression. Literally, it's a form of depression if you have to, do anything to alter your state of consciousness, to take you out of reality is a form of depression. And so Joe Rogan is just increasing the depression amongst young men. He's not, encouraging them to get a family. He knows how many people listen to him. So he does have a responsibility to his listeners, I would say. It's not absent. It is a two-way street. The parents should be diligent in who they allow their kids to listen to, but the influencers that society promotes should be of higher value. It's a two-way street. And if society fails in promoting somebody of lesser value, like a Joe Rogan, like an Andrew Tate, they should not be listened to. They should be shamed and not promote. Like, the parents should be like, no, you can't listen to that. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street when it comes to that kind of stuff. That's the whole point. And I mean, like I said, I'm not innocent. I drink beer. I'll drink maybe over the course of a month. I might have like 3-4 beers, but I would never make the argument that it's good for me because it makes me feel good. That's a silly argument. I would never make the argument that it's okay to drink it in moderation. I don't think that it is okay to drink in moderation. I know that I'm affecting and damaging my body when I do it. Do I like the taste of it? Yeah, I do. Do I enjoy beer? Of course. Yeah, of course I do. Should I drink it? No, I shouldn't. Should I promote other people drinking? No, I shouldn't. It would be better if I didn't drink. It would be better if other people didn't drink as well. They would be healthier. Same goes with, any kind of illegal substance like weed. Like, you would be much better if you don't do those things. Can you have a functional life if you do those things? Of course. But is your life going to be as good as it can be or could be without it. No, it's not. So you're lowering your ability overall. And that's my whole point. And then also, just circling back around to Joe Rogan, he's promoting these things, whether he realizes it or not. He's influencing young men to do these things. He does bear some responsibility for that. He isn't absent. His responsibility, like, it's not that he doesn't have responsibility because he isn't the parents of the child, but he is an influencer. So we should have higher standards in society as far as who we allow to be our influencers. But once again, you can do what you want to do. I just think you're under a total false belief if you are of the mind that it's okay to do these things and that you have no negative effect on your life, on your body whatsoever. That's silly because it's objectively false. And it's not something that should be promoted. But if you want to do it, I'm not going to come stop you. You can go do it if you want to do it. I'm just saying that you should think twice before you do it, and it should not be promoted because it's not healthy for a lot of reasons. So, yeah, but now I want to get over, we can let anybody else that wants to come in eventually if you want to. But the other thing that I wanted to cover is the EU and the USA are racist against Russia. So apparently Ukraine, Zelensky is trying to get the EU to target Russians by not allowing them to travel overseas into the EU or into the United States. The leader, the alleged leader of Ukraine said, yeah, well, we need to teach the Russians a lesson to say, if you're going to keep your philosophy the way it is, well, you can't travel. Literally, that's what they said. They were like, yo, you can keep your belief system if you like, but then you can't travel. You need to be punished for believing what you believe in, as Russians. Just because you're Russian, you shouldn't be able to travel. That's what he said. So, well, that's not exactly what he said, but that's in essence what he was saying. So, yeah, it's rather telling that now we're accepting of basically being racist to another nation. How is that How is it not racist? Russian is a race. The Russians are a race of people. And they are being discriminatory to that group of people. They are saying, we don't want these group of people who are Russians to be able to travel. That is an act of racism. If it were, say, African Americans, it's a nationality of people they are warring with. So it's racist. It doesn't make it not racist. I know, but it doesn't make it not racist. And I think it's funny that the EU and the USA are on Zelensky's list to ban Russians from travel. It's interesting that he's doing that. He's trying to get other nations to not let innocent Russian people travel. That's insane. Ukraine's losing the war. Like, what leverage does Ukraine have? And the United States, well, I don't know. They obviously have some leverage because the United States just sent them another $1 billion. Another $1 billion was sent to Ukraine. That's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, and then China, on different news, China, I guess, is extending their military drills in Taiwan. So I guess it's going to cut down on shipments of things. So that's something to look at. And who knows how that's going to devolve, right? Is it going to be peaceful? Is it going to be war? I think it's mostly going to be peaceful. But we'll see. I mean, Taiwan belongs to China anyway. So, we're just stoking the fire pretty much when it comes to the relationships between China and Taiwan, which we shouldn't be. I mean, and apparently it came out, I don't know how true this is, but allegedly there was some news that Nancy Pelosi's husband and her son, I believe, were her special guest to Taiwan, which is rather suspicious. It's rather suspicious because they have the biggest, they are one of like the biggest, if not the biggest producers of the chips, the semiconductor chips or whatever, the microchips. So that will probably, people have said this already, that this was kind of like a ploy, a stunt to increase their stock, increase their money. Essentially, it was a money move, a pump and dump. I don't know if they dumped anything. I don't really keep track of Nancy Pelosi's holdings, although I guess you would be kind of prudent to do so. But yeah, so we'll stand here for a little bit longer. And then, like I said, this one can't be super long because I do have a couple things I need to do. But yeah, so if anybody wants to hop on, have anything that you want to add to anything that I've stated here on TikTok. So for everybody on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, the talking points on TikTok are as follows. Joe Rogan is not a good role model for men. The EU and the USA are racist against Russians, which it's actually the Ukrainians are trying to force the United States and European Union to be racist towards the Russians. Voting isn't a right. Parents, this is a message to the parents. Stop saying terrible twos. How can you be racist against a nationality? Russian isn't a race. It is. A nation is a race of people. Literally. Russian is a race. So what are races? How do you have a race of... are Puerto Ricans a race? Are Mexicans a race? Are Americans a race? Are Japanese people a race? Is Chinese a race? It's very silly of you. I know that this is a common way of thinking today because so programmed. When you are asked your race on an application, Russia isn't listed. It doesn't mean it's not a race. Chinese is a race of people, is it not? Japanese is a race of people, is it not? Romanian, to be Romanian is to be a race. To be German is a race. To be Saudi Arabian, race. To be Indian is a race. To be Korean is a race. To be Russian is a race. Just the Caucasian could be Finnish, English, Irish, South American. Yeah, but that isn't. So those are all different races, right? Caucasian could be a name for multiple races, but it doesn't tell you what race you are. Because Finnish people are their own race. English, the Brits, they're their own race. The Irish, they're their own race. South Africans, they're their own race. Those are all races. And the Russian people are a race. And so with what Ukraine wants to do to Russia is a racist act. And he's trying to get the West to do so. to say, yo, don't let them travel because they're Russian. You know, if somebody in America said, don't let them travel because they're purple, we would say that's racist. Don't let them travel because they're from Mars. You know, same thing. Any one of the groups that are humans are often divided into based on physical traits regarded as common. Yeah, I mean, this is true. And then also you share a bloodline in some way, shape, or form, right? Not necessarily a bloodline, but some genetic component is usually combined with that, which would then relate to the physical traits, right? So it's not just external, but internal that would make a race of people. And it's not a bad thing, you know, it is just what it is. So, yes, to be Russian is to be a race. But I understand it, you know, because today we're all like, there's only one race, the human race. Well, there's multiple races, and we are all of the species human. I might enter in some not good territory, so I'm going to be careful on how we're going to word this next. But, you know, we look at dogs, and there's different kinds of dogs, but they're all dogs. It doesn't mean that there's only one kind of dog. There's not only German Shepherds. No. There's Rottweilers. There's Golden Retrievers. There's Poodles, Chow Chows, etc. So humans are similar in that regard. There's a bunch of different ones. We are from America. Our race isn't American. That's our nationality. Yeah, so America is an interesting thing. There are heritage Americans, right? So there are Americans as a race, yes. But America is unique in that it's one of the only countries, if not the only country, that you can go to, get your citizenship, and then call yourself American. You can't do that in Japan. You can't do that in Russia. Native American is race, but not American. Yeah, you can say Native American. You can say American. You can say heritage Americans, because there's a couple different kind, right? So, yeah, America is unique in that sense, where America has an amalgamation of races, right? I'm Puerto Rican, and I have a whole bunch of European blood in me as well. I'm a mixture. Literally had American in the title. There are other races that live in Japan. White people live in Japan too. I know. I don't think you understand me, but they can't call themselves Japanese. That's the thing. They would never call themselves Japanese. Literally had American in the title. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, just because you move to these countries and there's different races of people doesn't make them the race of the nation. It's a white person. The white person is a citizen. They call themselves Japanese. But they would never be accepted as Japanese. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't be. They would be considered wherever nationality they originally come from, what their parents are. If their parents were in the military and they're from Denmark, right? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. They're from Denmark and they live in Japan. The Japanese are always going to refer to them as Danish because that's what they are. No, they're Danish people. That's the race. How can you have a nation without race? If parents are in the military, they wouldn't be a Japanese citizen. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, okay, well, my parents were in business. They started working over in Japan, but they're from Finland. The same thing applies to what I'm saying. Just because you're born in a different nation doesn't make you the race of the nation. Just because your race is different from the nation in which you're born in doesn't separate you from your race. A Jamaican born in Norway is still Jamaican, but he's a Jamaican who is a Norwegian citizen. It doesn't make him Norwegian. So, yeah, but another thing that I really wanted to touch on here is that the idea, not the idea, but the term terrible twos, I think is really bad. I don't know why we say when our children get to 2 years old, they're the terrible twos, as in all these bad things happen once your child turns 2 years old and 3 years old. You know, they're just causing havoc everywhere, and it's just insane. Like they're running, they're moving, they're learning so much. It's the terrible twos. I think that is so sick. That's disgusting. That's a disgusting mindset to have and a disgusting term to have. Why are you saying because your child has reached a certain age that now they are terrible? They are in a stage of terribleness. That is disgusting. No, they're in a stage of tremendous growth, tremendous learning, tremendous development. So, why not replace the terrible twos with the tremendous twos? I think the tremendous twos is much more suiting than the terrible twos. Because that goes along with the idea of like criticizing having children, right? And scaring people away to have children. That's being oversensitive. Terrible twos is a joke. It's not being oversensitive. Because you're implying that the age of 2 is terrible. As opposed to terrible, why not use better rhetoric and say it's the tremendous twos? It's much more positive. Terrible has a negative connotation. Tremendous has a positive connotation. However, you can say they made a tremendous mess. But it's all like tremendous just has a more positive connotation to it. And so changing the rhetoric of that, I think, would help a lot of people out. And the reason I say that is because this is one of the narratives that people get bought into, and they then say, I don't know if I want to have kids because, you know, you got to go through the baby stages because, you know, you got to go through the baby stages, and through the baby stages, you're going to get less sleep. You're going to get it's just going to take so much out of you. You're not going to be able to go out like you used to. You're not going to be able to do all these things. It's just going to be too much sacrifice for me. And then not only that, but after they get out of the infant stage, what do they do next? They start going into the terrible twos. So all the way through a baby's development, we've criticized them. We've demonized them. It's disgusting. It really is. It's become common parlance, if you will, to say, oh my gosh, when you have a child, you're going to get no sleep, which is true. Don't get me wrong. There is lack of sleep. But as opposed to saying, oh, the little bit of sleep you get, oh, complaining about waking up in the middle of the night to feed him or her. Why not change the tone around having children to say, wow, I'm very blessed that I get to have a child. A lot of people don't get to have children. And I'm one of the people that get to have children. Yeah, I have to wake up in the middle of the night. That's fine, though, because I want to keep my child alive. I want to keep him healthy. I want to protect him. It's okay. But instead, all we do is complain about having children. That tone should start in pregnancy. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Audrey, this might be the first thing that we've agreed upon since you've joined in. 100%, it should start in pregnancy. It should start with just the idea of having children. I would go even further in saying it starts before pregnancy. It starts once you start thinking about having children. We should not look at children as a nuisance, rather. We should not look at children as a burden. All these people calling unborn children parasites or clumps of cells. Yeah, I agree. And we are clumps of cells. We are still to this day intelligent collective clump of cells. So it's kind of silly to even call a baby that, because then you're just saying that you can abort anybody you want. So yeah, 100%. So yeah, we need to really change the way we look at children in the West. I think this is a big reason why a lot of the younger generations are not having children, is precisely due to the language. Not entirely, but a lot to do. Let me change my wording. A lot to do with the language that we use towards having children and the narrative around having children. Now, the other thing I want to touch on is Gen Z gets it. So a lot of Gen Zers, I would totally give up the term terrible twos if it saves lives to the millions. Yeah, I'm sure it would. I'm not sure that it would actually like save millions of lives, but I think it would encourage people to have children that they were like, no, this is the tremendous twos. Like imagine changing the rhetoric to the terrible twos. They're going to get into everything. You're going to have to clean up so much. You're going to be chasing them all around, all these things complaining. And you're like, these are the tremendous twos. They're learning so much, right? They're soaking everything in like a sponge. They want to do what I'm doing. Right? They want to impress you. They want to please you. They want to help out around the house. They want to contribute to the family. They're trying to say words. They're saying these really, funny sentences. My kid was a 2-year-old genius. That's amazing. I think that my 2-year-olds are very smart too. They're counting. They're starting to count already. They're reading. They can kind of read words. I say kind of because there's certain words that they'll see and they know what they are and they can say them. And then, they're trying to say a lot. She wasn't terrible at all. Great. That's awesome. I hope you're being serious. I don't think my children are terrible at all either. I think my children are tremendous. I have twin daughters. They're 2 years old. And this is why I'm speaking so passionately about it, because I hear this rhetoric and I don't like it. Yeah, mine was able to count and read numbers before 2. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you must have a pretty high IQ, or your husband has a pretty high IQ. You both have relatively high IQs. So, yeah, I mean, tremendous twos. That's what it should be, guys. I'm proposing it. Let's start it. Let's start it in our own lives. When you hear somebody say terrible twos, and don't correct them, but then when you talk about your children, make sure if they're 2 years old, you say the tremendous twos. Or in the future, I took an IQ test once. It was 127. Don't know what that means. Well, if it's an online IQ test, it doesn't really mean much. But if it was like an actual IQ test, it means that you're I want to say a standard deviation above the average IQ, which is about 100. It was one of those paid tests, LOL. Yeah, I took one of those as well. I actually scored the same thing. I don't know how real it is, though. Gotcha. Yeah. I've I don't know if I got scammed. Maybe that was the IQ test. I definitely took one of those 2 years ago because I was curious when I was in my early 20s. I paid for it. I scored a 127. It was actually, ironically enough, the same IQ test Joe Rogan took that he posted on his Instagram. Back when I used to listen to Joe Rogan, and I used to think that he was a good role model for young men. Yeah, I think I was 21, 22, somewhere along those lines when I took it. But yeah, I mean, if it's accurate and yours was accurate, we have a similar IQ. I don't listen to Rogan. Good. You shouldn't. I don't think anybody should be listening to Rogan at this point. but you can do what you want to do. But yeah, so the other thing that I want to touch on too, so tremendous twos, not terrible twos. Gen Z's, that Generation Z gets it. Because a lot of Generation Z is living with their parents. And I think that we should encourage multi-generational households. Once again, that's where your strength's at, is in your family. That ties into the bottom point, which is family is wealth, money is a trap. Don't get me wrong, money is very useful in the society we live in. It's convenient. We can make our lives a lot easier by using money. But the real wealth comes from family and human capital. And the most human capital you'll have is through your family. So with Generation Z, although they may be doing it for not good reasons, staying with their parents, it's a good thing that is starting back up, I believe. If they live with their parents and go to school or work and help pay bills, all for it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that you should freeload off of your parents. I'm not saying that you should even necessarily, live with your parents, but you're like not like, just because, how am I trying to say this? So there's a lot of people who live with their parents who do pay bills and help out, but they still are very immature. If you catch my drift, like they're not like grown up yet. They haven't like hit adulthood. And a lot of people want to say it's because they haven't left their parents' home, which I would argue that I don't think it's natural to leave your parents' home. I think that there should be multi-generational families inside of a house or, sharing land. But we should be able, to encourage the spiritual growth, the maturity level of the adults living within these homes. I feel that a lot of them are stunted right now, though. And that's where a lot of people become very negative to the younger generation staying at home, living with their parents. I actually think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a trend that should continue. My long-term goal is to have enough land and enough property, enough land and to build enough homes, if need be, or just build a big enough home to fit my family in as they get older and they start having families. I think that's a beautiful thing. And we're just so antagonistic to our own families. Why is it that you'll live in a neighborhood with strangers and you won't live with your family? I get it. Like, I don't live next to my family. I mean, we live a few minutes away from my in-laws and my wife's grandparents. I would love my kid to live with me as long as she wants. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be, that's how it should be, I feel. And don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that I live in a multi-generational household, but I think this is the way to move forward. I think this helps fix a lot of issues in our society. And I get it that we've all come from a lot of traumatic we've all come from traumatic families because the world we live in today is very corrupted. So I get it. I'm very empathetic to that fact. However, it doesn't mean that it can't get better. And I think that these are one of the visions of the future that will actually promote goodness in the world. But so that's pretty much all I have time for today. Little slow stream, usually we have some more people in here, but it could have been the Joe Rogan talk at the beginning that scared a lot of people off, but it is what it is. It's all good. Good stream nonetheless. I had some good comments in there. And so I will maybe do a stream tonight. Probably not, though. But if I do, it'll probably be around 9, 10 o'clock. Maybe have some more to talk about. Maybe get some more people on the show. But otherwise, I got to go. I got to go get a new car. So I got to go do some car shopping. So, we have no car at the moment. So we're borrowing my mother-in-law's car. And so we got to go on the hunt for another car. Yeah, so wish us luck. All right. So if you're in MA, I'll do your insurance. I actually am from Michigan, but I live in Ohio. I will give you a follow either way. And yeah, maybe we can link up. Maybe you can help my family out. Maybe I can refer you to my family, help you get some money or something. I don't know. If you're talking about like car insurance, dang, I do your insurance if you move north. LOL. I know. I'm in that state that nobody likes in Michigan right now. Ohio. So, hey, thanks. I own an agency up here. That's awesome. Hey, I own a commercial cleaning company, and we are actually looking to expand into Michigan. Where exactly are you at in Michigan? We can talk business out of here, but yeah, maybe we can clean your office for you. But yeah, for sure, we should link up. DM me, and maybe I can help you out getting some referrals or something, and maybe my company can help your company out, and we can go from there. But all right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Much love, peace.